Me and Rob and Johnny were talking about yesterday, just like doing the seminars, and Rob was talking about how you have to practice, you know, especially when you're talking about public speaking. You have to practice to have that confidence, and then, like I said, that just comes off to the whole crowd that you're speaking with. But at the same time, I mean, like, we are public speaking, even though you might not be in a room full of people. When you're sitting there one-on-one, to have that confidence level delivers a whole other level. I mean, like I said, you just come off in a whole different emotion when you're confident, rather than it's like, I'm really unsure about what I'm talking about. I've never done this before. That's what it comes off, you know, when you're not confident. Yeah. If you've never done it before, but you know your script very well, and you're delivering that to somebody in person, they're going to see that, and they're going to be like, well, this guy knows what he's talking about, even if it might be your first presentation. Yeah. But again, practicing, and Rob was talking about, you got to practice, get in the front of the mirror, do it, you know.
And it's all, the whole thing is awkward. Yeah. It's awkward to write a script. It's awkward to practice a script by yourself. It's awkward to have somebody else critique your script until it's not. Until it's not awkward anymore. There's a point where you've, like, I was at Medicare Con, I didn't feel awkward or, you know, worried about getting up in front of people, but it's like I've graduated that level, and now I'm, you know, ready to do it bigger than that. But the point is, you have to do it. You have to sit down, I think, you know, write it out, take notes, think out the way you're going to say it, practice it, and craft it. I mean, and the best speakers in, you know, the world, you know, and it's not just speakers, it's like you're saying, that individual client presentation, have polished it to where there's no room. Just like when Jordan talks about straight line, if you don't think he has a pitch from here to here, what he's saying is, okay, I'm going through my pitch, my logical pitch or whatever, and then when people start to deviate, haha, yeah, that's funny, you know, back to my pitch. Don't get into some long drawn out story, you know, unless it's part of your pitch. If you want to tell a story about a client, work it into your pitch. Because as you deviate, you're not going to be good at it. So when they're deviating, we're bringing them back to that line. That's what the whole line is about. Like, you have your pitch. So, you know, because when you're doing something, most of the time people aren't going to be quiet for an entire 5 minutes and just let you ramble and ramble and ramble. So you have to figure out what you're going to say, so to avoid all objections, create that logical airtight case, and get them to, you know, that closed level, and just keep deviating back to that straight line. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about, okay, now we're going to go down here and we're going to talk about this. He's talking about, this is what we're talking about. When they deviate, our job is to bring them back as quickly as possible. Really, it should be like this. You know, they're coming back quick. And it's not like, and I don't mean like, John, if you could just shut up for a minute and let me get through my pitch. I mean, figure out how to comfortably bring them back, you know. Yeah, I've been there, you know, just those goofy little euphemisms that you can practice. And as you're talking to people and you realize and think about it, I'm on a line, you'll start to realize when they deviate. You can come up with those euphemisms or those ways to get them back to the line. The line starts when they walk in the door here, if you're in person. Part of Rob's deviation to keep them on line, or part of his script, is you can just throw those pillows over there. That's part of his whole pitch, right? Every time he says the same thing, and we make fun of it because it's goofy and it's funny because we hear it so many times. They don't. I guarantee you, if you're thinking about the line and the words that you're saying as you're saying, you can craft a much better presentation. And when people go negative on something, don't have that feeling of like, they're not going to buy. You know, you just have a way where you say, I wrote this down. John, I understand where you're coming from, and I know when we talk through this, you'll see. Now, you might be already here. And that's why there's even the potential that you need to have some round 2 variations for objections. So if you get into here and they say, you know, I want to think about it, I don't know if I can afford that, all these different objections, you need to say, John, I understand where you're coming from, and I know when we talk through this, you'll see the value in it. Loop them right back to here, and then you're going through that version of the pitch for that objection. And you can craft. It's not something that I want you're going to have done in 2 hours. It's something that you continue to craft as you're communicating with people. How can I do better? You know what you can do if you're in person or on the phone or whatever, try to record what you're saying and listening to it. And I can download recordings too from when you're using the office phones, so you can listen to what you're saying and be like, I got to eliminate that. I got to eliminate that. I got to eliminate that. And then conjecture and tonality is part of it too. It's all part of that craft pitch. You know, people sell sales courses with hundreds and hundreds of videos, but it's really, honestly, conjecture and tonality, the attitude that you project by your vernacular and tonality, and then staying on that same road to the close, knowing what the common objections are to loop them right back to here. And every time you get an objection you never got before, come up with a common rebuttal for it and say, John, I understand where you're coming from, and I know, not I think, I know when we go more into this or we explain it, you'll see the value in it. And then boom, back to here, and you have a new pitch for them. That's all it is. It's, you know, it's the same stuff we're talking about yesterday, but I'm just trying to drive it home that you really need to take the time to craft it. Nobody has a perfect pitch. I don't. I never did. I never had a perfect pitch. But I'm learning it now, and we can do so much better. 99% of agents are not crafting a great presentation. They're not. They're just people who were tired of working at a factory who wanted to be an insurance agent. And now they have a license and they're selling. That's who they are. They are not honing their craft. That's why 92% of them fail. It's because they don't have the commitment to do it. When people say it's because they can't get in front of enough people, it's not. It's because they don't have the grit to figure it out. I had to figure it out. He had to figure it. We figure things out.
Yeah, I like the point that you're making there. There's two things I'll say. Is I think another way to say this is when we're here, we have the confidence level up here because we have the brand recognition. This is our house, if you will. You know what I mean? It's like when you're playing sports and you come to someone's house.
Home field advantage.
Right. And so then when you go somewhere else, the confidence sometimes can leak out a little bit. But if you have a well-crafted presentation, and we were talking about this yesterday, I think you had left right after 5 or something, you had to go somewhere. We were talking about practice. The reason you practice and you're repetitive is because I can tell when a preacher hasn't practiced because they chase a million rabbits, okay, and their presentation's all over the place, but you can tell the best communicators are the ones that know where they're going all the time because they've, Allen Iverson, practice, they practice. And when you do that, no matter where you go, on the coast, here, Jackson, when you perfect that pitch, you have confidence in the pitch that you know it's going to work because people are people no matter where you go. Yeah. You understand? That's why Marshall does that same thing, and he does so well with different audiences, the West Coast, East Coast, and the middle.
That's what I was going to say. So when I was speaking at Medicare Con, while I got more comfortable, I was relying way too heavy on inside jokes and the fact that I know so many people in the room. So you have to deliver, you have to make people have that logical airtight case, that emotional airtight case, and they'll buy. So practice your pitch, write it down, think about it, craft it, do it.